These are some big, these are some giant snowflakes that are coming down. Boom. Here's one I just caught. I mean, look at this. This is huge. I mean, I'm not even kidding you. These are giant flakes. And it's not because it's changing over to rain. I mean, this is... Normally, lake effect snow is convective. Yeah, these are some big snowflakes that are coming down. And they're not melting either. I mean, big snowflakes. I mean, check this out. I mean, these are some of the biggest snowflakes I have ever seen in my life. Wow. And they're very airy, too. They're not very wet. I mean, these are big snowflakes. I'm going to catch one in my hand right now. Yeah. I mean, they're big. Normally, when snowflakes are this big, you're gonna like see rain normally. Like it's gonna quickly change over to rain. But nope, not today. We are kind of seeing a southwest wind coming in. This is actually the warm front. Actually, I was wrong. This is not lake effect snow. So the title is actually incorrect for this video. This is not lake effect snow. I mean, even though on radar it looked like a lake effect snow band coming in, this is actually the warm front. The sky looks very hazy, like it. Yeah, this is actually the warm front coming in. Still, the heavier the rain will stay south of us. Jeez. We're gonna stay in the 30s throughout the day today. Oh my. Whoa. These flakes are huge. I mean, I looked outside and I saw these big flakes falling. I'm like, I have to go outside. I looked on radar, and the precip is coming off of Lake Ontario, so I thought, oh, it's lake effect. But no, then I realized the precip extends to the northwest of Ontario, Lake Ontario as well. Then I realized, okay, it's not lake effect. But it looked like it was. Gave me the impression it was lake effect snow. But in fact, this is not lake effect. Plus, the direction of the wind is not coming from the lakes. If this was lake effect snow, you would be getting winds either from this direction to here, not a southwest wind or west to southwest wind. I mean, plus the way the flakes are falling down, just without any wind. There's barely any wind. Plus, I hear a plane above us. Yep, that's a plane. I'm going to go back to sleep soon because I didn't get any sleep last night. So the reason I'm doing this, you guys, the radar. See, you would think it's lake effect, right? But then look, it's coming in from the northwest. If you look to other radars, looking to Buffalo, kind of seeing this band of precip just coming in, right? I mean, the flakes are not as big as they were earlier. They're still big, but they're smaller now, and they're coming down lighter, so. And the plane you just heard, let's see what flight that was. Fulton. Fulton is closest airport here. Yep. So the plane we just heard was this plane. 31,000 feet, Air Canada flight. Going to Nova Scotia from Toronto. Yeah, so this is actually a one of those newer planes. It's a Boeing Airbus A320 300 series. Sorry, A220 series dash 300. A220 dash 300. It's believe it or not, it's only 3 seats across. I mean, 3 on one side, 2 on the other. So I think it's 5 across, or is it? Yeah, 2 and 1. Let me show you the interior. A220. Yeah, I think it's 3 and then 2. Yeah. Yeah, 3-2 configuration. Yep, see? It's a 3-2 config. And it's very fuel efficient. It's one of the more fuel efficient planes in existence. I wasn't even expecting any snow today, to be honest with you. This comes a little bit as a shock to me. But it's very beautiful, nevertheless. Maybe this was a little bit lake effect. Let me see. Northeast. Yeah, see, there is a little bit of a frontal system coming through. So, okay, so that's the band that we're getting right now. So it looks like, yeah. So some instability showers later today. And then, here's the thing. I've been looking at the European model, and it shows a big storm around this time, a big coastal storm. The European model is showing a big storm in about a week's time. Even the GFS is now hinting at it now. Let's see. I mean, this system is only going to bring us like a dusting of snow. It's not going to bring too much. And if we're going to get any convective stuff, it's going to be later in the afternoon. Snow's tapering off the flurries now. So let me go back to the... I'm going to click and... Okay, so... Yeah, the clouds that are producing the snow are stratus clouds. See, there's still some big flakes that have fallen. The flakes aren't as big as they were earlier, but they're still basically, these are congealed flakes. These are like these are basically clumps of snowflakes that are falling, like clumps right here. See? Visibility is pretty good. It's about 2 miles, I would say, about a mile or so. So even though the flakes are big, they're not really limiting visibility. In fact, because the flakes are so big, it's allowing visibility to be better because the flakes aren't so close together. Ooh, big flake just fell. Big one. Oh, yeah, that's a big flake that just landed. Let's see. So I'm changing my major away from meteorology because the math and physics are too hard. Like, I can't do it. I'm going to do journalism instead. That way I can be a photojournalist and follow severe weather without having to, I don't want to be behind a desk forecasting the weather. I want to be more like in the action. But I also, like, I know what's going on. I know why severe weather happens. Like, I already know calculus 2 related stuff. Like, I already know. It's just that during exams I have issues, but unfortunately, not all the professors can accommodate a person with disabilities. Like, if I need like, the professor told me, hey, if you need an open book exam, like, if this is, I can't make it open, like, not open book, but I can't allow you to have notes, because then I have to make that for everybody. It says it won't be fair, but my disability makes it so that if I don't have notes, I will fail, because my learning disability with math is that bad. Yes, I have dyscalculia. I have issues with complex memorization, even though basically the professor says to me, for me to make it fair for you would make it unfair for everyone else. That is just bullshit. Like, basically she refuses to even the playing field, because she says it's going to be a disadvantage to other students. So what? If you have a person with a wheelchair, you're not going to make a wheelchair ramp for them? I'm like, it's same logic, basically. I'm like, oh, if I have to make a wheelchair ramp for you, I have to make one for everybody. Like, this logic doesn't exist. It doesn't make sense. She's like, oh, you have extra time. You have a separate room. I'm like, yes, I'm disabled. I need that. Like, having notes during an exam, just notes. I'm not even saying a notebook. 1 page of notes. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking for a freaking textbook. I'm not asking for a cheat sheet. I'm not asking for answers. I'm just asking for a page of notes, so that when I actually take the exam, I will understand, like, I will be able to say, okay, this is what you do. Like, without having to rely entirely on my memory, because I have issues with complex memorization, and I'm not the best in math. So I'm like, I've spent hours and hours and hours on calculus, to the point that I'm negating my other class, physics. And thankfully, my physics professor, who is much more accommodating, says, yes, you can have a formula sheet. He says he not only does he provide formula sheets, but he also says I can have a page of notes, because he understands my conditions. He just said, okay, I just need to see like proof of your disability, which the disability office is supposed to provide for him, or the accessibility office, as it's called now, which I actually like. Office of Student Accessibility. That's actually a much better name. But still. I mean, like, an open book exam, like, totally open book, is basically defeats the purpose of having exams. But to allow a student to have a page of notes, or just like front to back notes, that should be allowed. Like, every person is not going to have the same results, because when your professor makes an exam for you, it's not like everyone's going to have the same questions. It's different for every student. And especially for students with disabilities, it's paramount that they be allowed to have a page of notes, especially for students with learning disabilities such as myself. I'm not asking for somebody to sit by me, give me the answers. No. I'm just asking for, like, very simple things. Like, I'm not saying, okay, I want the answers. Like, I don't want, like, oh, look, you can actually see clear skies above. I'm going to have to explain to the professor clear, like, my needs. Like, I'm saying, okay, I have issues with complex memorization. Like, she sees how I'm completely flunking these quizzes without a page of notes. It's like, I am never taking her again. I'm going to make sure that whoever I get is going to, like, understand my disability. Like, I am learning disabled, and it makes it harder. because the stress of taking the exams is so overwhelming that it's just too much. Anyway, I just hope when I take calculus and when I take the exam on Thursday, the professor will change her mind. Because if I'm unable to change her mind, doesn't matter how much hours of tutoring I get, doesn't matter how much I study, I'm not going to pass. It's like, I have a condition that I've had my whole life, and I've tried everything to overcome it. I've tried really hard to push past my limitations, but there's only so much I can do. I realized I came across a brick wall, and I'm asking for help to basically tear down that wall, or at least break it so I can overcome it. But they're like, no, you need to do this on your own. Colleges are really difficult for students with learning disabilities. They need to make it easier, not just, you're going to have extra time. No, like having a page of notes should be allowed for students with disabilities. It's paramount. Like there are some students who just say, okay, who basically use their disability as a pretext to get free passes, But even then, still, it's not like they're bad people for trying to get accommodations for their conditions. But a lot of people will be like, oh, you're just using your disability as an excuse. That's unacceptable. People, if you have a disability and you've spent years and years and years trying to accommodate, instead of giving up on your goals and dreams, they're like, oh, it's too hard. No, you need to power through. And if people are making it too tough on you, that's not right. That's not right. You need to fight for your rights sometimes. They're like, today's society, unfortunately, even though it claims to be very progressive, it doesn't do enough to help people with learning disabilities. And this is unfortunately Bush's fault. No Child Left Behind basically pushed students through with learning disabilities to get college degrees, and then they're like, well, once you're in college, they're like, all this help you had in school, you don't have now. I think what needs to be done is students need to organize for the same rights that they had in high school and middle school, like the right to have formula sheets, the rights to have notes during exams, especially for students with disabilities. It has to be a fundamental right. Not everyone with a disability is obviously going to be disabled. There are people in wheelchairs, there are people with crutches, there's people with obvious disabilities that's obvious, but there's also people with invisible disabilities, like myself, with autism. And I don't just have autism. Autism is just one of the conditions I have. My main condition is attention deficit disorder, but I also have short-term memory issues, not because of the autism itself, but because of the learning disabilities, including a concussion that I suffered. I'm not sure if that's the cause, but I did suffer a couple of head injuries when I was younger, so that could be the cause, potentially. I wasn't born premature. I was actually born late. I was born 2 weeks late. Yeah, I basically didn't want to come out of my mom. My mom said that my birth was very uneventful. that I was a very quiet kid. Didn't cry much. Apparently, that's actually one of the signs of autism, is unusual quietness during birth, which my mom said I had. Like, I cried a little bit, but like I wasn't very fussy. I became fussy once I became a toddler. But in my infancy, I was very, very quiet. And it kind of like concerned my family. Like, I maintained eye contact, they said, but maybe that's because I was an empath. My family also told me that as a kid, I was very attuned to other people's emotions when I was younger. That seeing other people cry made me cry, which I think that's normal, but like it was more, but they said that was one of the reasons why I stopped making eye contact. It was overwhelming for me. In fact, autistic people are known to be overly empathic in most cases. There's some people with autism who are the very opposites. That's why everyone with autism is different. There should not be this umbrella for people with autism, like, oh, all people with autism are like this, or all people. Think of a snowflake. Every snowflake is unique. There's something called neurodiversity. And autistic people are neurodiverse. There's a huge, every person with autism is going to be different. Like, no two people with autism will be the same. Like, there's these twins that I knew with autism. They were very similar to one another, but each had different behaviors, different attributes to them. And that's proof that autism isn't the same for everyone. It's not. And these people that I knew, that I'm talking about, are from the school I went to in Boston. I know one of their names. I forgot the other twin's name, but, for HIPAA reasons, I can't name them, but when a sibling is born with autism, it's more than likely the other sibling will have it too. Autism is both environmental and genetic, but it's mostly environmental. For example, you're predisposed to, being born in like a quiet place like here, like genetically. And then you're raised in a city, so you're going to be overwhelmed by all the sounds and sights of the city. Police sirens, loud noises. Autism is basically a disorder of the central nervous system, of sensory issues. Some people have hypersensitivity or hyposensitivity. Or even emotions can be higher, could be hypo, hyper. Some people with autism could have difficulty understanding other people's emotions, or the very opposite, could be overwhelmed by other people's emotions. But one thing I did have trouble with, as most autistic people do, is multitasking and knowing when certain social situations are appropriate or not appropriate. That all comes down to multitasking. That's why I'm not good at taking exams, for example. That's why when it comes to memory, I'm not good at recalling things like mathematical equations. Some people with autism are really good at that. They are. Like, there's some people with autism who are math geniuses. Like, there's this person with autism who's actually a professor out of being not even a teenager, and he was already teaching classes. There's some people with autism like me who are not really good at stuff like physics and calculus. I mean, granted, I never went to high school. I went to a special ed school, so that already put me at a disadvantage. So when I should have been learning physics and calculus, I was in a special ed school, not really getting any tutoring. And I didn't have access to a computer like I do now, so I couldn't just study. So, yeah. Being autistic comes with its advantages and disadvantages. Oh, the snow just stopped. As you see, yeah, this is now lake effect. See all these stratiform clouds here. Still getting really light flurries. I mean, didn't totally stop. Still getting a couple tiny flakes coming down, but it's mostly over. Anyway, I've decided that I'm probably going to change my major. Because if the school is like, nope, you can't have page of notes, and I'm like, okay, I'm changing the major. Because then it's like, if you can't accommodate my disability, then, well, or maybe I could, I don't know. From what I heard, the meteorology professors are very accommodating. They've let students take their classes without taking the prerequisites. So I guess I'm going to do meteorology, but maybe I'm not going to do the math stuff yet. I'm going to wait a little bit. It looks like we're above freezing because, look, there's water here. Maybe that's why the flakes were so big. Yeah, we're above freezing. It actually, the water drops there. Probably around 33, 34, considering the snowflakes weren't very wet when they were coming down. So there's still some snow here. It's not totally molten. Anyway, thank you for watching. Sorry for that rambling. I just needed to get that out. My concerns. Yeah, doing homework kind of overwhelms me. Studying and doing homework it overwhelms me because of anxiety. Thank you for watching. Bye.